whenever you're done with that.
So the streaming has started, and I'm starting the recording as well. Okay.
Okay, are we good to go?
Just a minute. Do you guys see if the recording is started? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, first of all, Vision, can you tell me if I'm audible?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, right. Acha, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Muhammad Alamdar, third year MBBS student at Khyber Medical College, Peshawar, and I'll be the moderator for today's session. So first of all, I'll start off with a very brief introduction of the speakers that we have today. First of all, we have Waleed Zaib, who just recently just gave his final year's exam. He's like a former student of Khyber Medical College, who has passed both his step one and step two exam. Apart from that, we have Adam Saeed and Wahab and Sara Rasool, all three of whom are final year students at Khyber Medical College, Peshawar, and all of them are done with the step one exam. So that's a very brief introduction of our panel. Now, I'd like to give a very brief overview of this session today that we have. So I'll be switching between English and Urdu. These two are the medium. So ये सेशन ऐसा है कि we have a few presentations to begin with. मतलब the Google form that we made उसमें लोगों ने बहुत सारे questions किए थे, and so we just want to answer some of the big questions like the recurring themes right at the start. मतलब जो पहली presentations होंगी उसमें हम आंसर करेंगे कि किस तरह आपने जो है ना कौन सी resources यूज करनी है, timeline क्या होनी चाहिए, when should you do step one, and actually before all of that, why you should like pursue the USMLE journey. So we'll have that talk. और आखिर में there are specific questions regarding different resources like keyword, like Anki, and things like that. So उसको जो है ना हम आखिर में touch करेंगे. And if we have time, so we'll just take live questions as well. One thing I'd like to specify कि Google form में हमारे पास कुछ questions आए थे like how about lab, how about AMC, या फिर जो US clinical rotations हैं, या फिर how to do research. So I'd like to specify that we can have different sessions for that, but right now that is not the main focus of this session. So we'll leave that for some other time. अभी के लिए everything that we'll talk about would be related to step one, USMLE step one way or the other. So first of all, I'd like to just ask Walid Bhai to just briefly tell us about why we should consider going for the USMLE pathway and how has his experience been with it so far. Walid Bhai, the floor is yours.
All right, Assalamu alaikum, everybody, and I hope everyone is doing well. My name is Pradeep. Um, I recently took my final exam. So this session is about step one. So I would first want to shed some light upon why one should take step one. My 2 cents are that the step one exam is It's well recognized exam all over the world. It is the first step amongst the three-step exams that you take in order for you to be eligible for board certification to practice as a licensed physician in the United States. So the journey starts with the step one exam, and this is basically the most comprehensive exam out there that you'll take as a medical student. The first one, of course, the second would be the CK step 2 CK exam. So one thing I would like to mention is that the study you do for step one exam, it helps you all along your med school journey. The books you read, the resources you use, they are so comprehensive and so well written, and they'll build your academic knowledge to the extent that you'll be able to take any exam that comes along your way, any professional exam like your first, second, third, fourth, and final year professional exams, and even the postgraduate exams like FTP, and even the foreign exams, of course. So the resources that are used for step one exams, they not only help you cover the exam itself, but it also helps you in all other examinations that you will take as a medical student and even as a graduate. Plus, starting step one in as a med student, it really orients you to to hunt for the clinical knowledge and the clinical skills that you need as a physician in the future. So it is an exam that really brings up the academic potential in a medical student, because it challenges you on so many levels, the subject it tests and stuff. So I definitely think that like any medical student who wants to excel in their medical career, they should think about these competitive exams from a very early level, apart from starting to think about later on in their medical career. So yeah, that's a brief introduction about why someone should think about taking the step one exam. The next, I would want to talk about what the step one exam is. So the step one exam is basically like I mentioned, is the very first examination for physicians, aspiring physician in the states, and it evaluates the foundational knowledge and application of basic science concepts, the basic subjects that you read, that you study in your first and second year of MBBS. It is administered by the National Board of Medical Examination in the United States and FSMB collectively. And this is it's a rigorous examination, takes a lot of preparation, it's demanding, and it needs a comprehensive understanding of the medical disciplines, the subjects that you study in your med school. So the examination criteria is that it's a computer based exam. The whole exam is computer based, and it's a it's an 8 hour exam, and it consists of 7 blocks. One block is 1 hour each, and it has 40 multiple choice questions. It doesn't have short and long answers. It just has multiple choice questions spread through 8 hours. 1 hour is the break time, and the 7 hours is the examination time. So let's say you went to the examination center. Your exam starts at, let's say, 8 a.m. The exam will end at exactly 8 hours from then. So let's say you took one block, you started the block, it ended at from 8 to 9 a.m. First block ended. You can decide to take a 5 to 10 minutes break, or you can start the next block right away. If you take breaks, that time is deducted from the overall 8 hours. So a maximum 60 minutes of break is allowed. You can take it at the end, you can take it at the start, you can take it one after every block. That's what I personally did. So like you can refresh a bit and then you come back and start another block. So basically it's an 8 hour exam, and it spans, like, it has 7 blocks, right? 1 hour each, and it is a mixed subjects exam. So like in one block you can see questions from almost every subject that is tested on the step one, which is the gross anatomy, of course, anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry. That's what you start with as a medical student. It also consists of the clinical subjects, which is the pathology and pharmacology, along with behavioral subjects like the biostatistics, behavioral sciences, and some research questions, some ethics and communication questions. So basically if you think about as a medical student in Pakistan, specifically in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the curriculum is designed in a way that the step one exam covers your subjects from your first year till the fourth year of your med school, starting from the basics till the clinical subject, which includes the pathology and pharmacology and microbiology and immunology, right? And this is the little insight on how each subject is included in the exam. So if you look at this, the main chunk of the exam is the three P's. That's, the three P's of step one: pathology, physiology, and pharmacology. If you look at the subjects, pathology is like it's very heavy on the exam, then physiology, and then pharmacology. An interesting thing about step one is that even if it's testing a biochemistry question, or even if it's testing an anatomy question, it will somehow put in some pathology or some physiology or pathophysiology, like we say. Like it will test the question in a way that it will be a multidisciplinary question. It won't just be about anatomy. They'll put some data from anatomy, some from physiology, some from pathology, and at the end they might be asking you a second or third order question, which would be, it won't be exactly asking you the diagnosis. They can ask you the diagnosis, they can ask you the treatment that you would do for that patient, they can ask you about a complication of a disease. So a question can be on different levels. So these are the systems that are tested, which includes almost every system in the human body, and the disciplines which you talked about, all the subjects that you study as a medical student from your first year till your fourth year. And one important thing is that recently, around 2 years ago, on in January 2022, the criteria has changed. So initially I took my exam as a scored exam, and a lot of people did that, but after that the exam has shifted to a pass fail exam, which is a good news for medical students, because now even though you still have to prepare a lot for this exam, you don't have to worry about how much you'll score, because at the end of the day, as long as you pass the scoring, the passing criteria, the result would be a pass on the exam. And the last thing I would like to talk about is the ideal timeline for a KMC student. That's what we wrote, but for any medical student in Pakistan would be, because in the United States, medical students take this exam in their second year of med school or third year of med school at maximum, most of the students. So because in there the medical school is 4 years, so it consists of the preclinical, which is first and second year, and then clinical, which is third and fourth year. So what they do is they start, they have to take the board exams, step one and step two. So what they do is they start to prepare for their step one right from first year of med school, and then in second year a lot of students, they take their step one exam, and if someone is left, they take it in third year. So ideally, if you're a medical student, and if you're a first year student or a second year student, it's ideal to, if you want to pursue this journey, it would be nice to start this journey right from day one. Whenever know starting the journey, there is no early time to start pursuing the USMLE pathway. So that's exactly the main good thing about step exams, that you can take these exams as a medical student, as opposed to other competitive exams like the AMC for Australia or PLAB for the UK and other exams. You can't take those exams as a medical student. The advantage you have over here is you can take these exams right away. The criteria is you must have at least passed the basic sciences, which is your second year, first and second year. So the first day of third year, when your result is announced and you have passed basic sciences, you are technically eligible to take step one. So if someone is a first or second year student, or even a third year student, the best time to start for studying for step one is right now, because that's exactly where you study anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and all the basic sciences. Just add up pathology and pharmacology, micro and immunology, and do some the statistics and ethics questions from QBanks, and you're good to go for your step one exam. So that's the basic introduction. I would hand it over back to Alamdar. So I think Anandar is having some connection problems. If the next thing would be Wahab talking about the finances for step one. So Wahab, if you can continue, please.
Am I audible, Walid bhai? Uh,
Yes, you are.
I have to start my presentation, so for that you have to close your ones as well. All right. Is it clear? Is the screen sharing with you people?
I think it's going to take a little bit.
Okay.
Yep.
That's here now.
It's fine now?
Yep. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So step one finance is most of the students in med schools here in Pakistan, in KPK and in Punjab as well are from middle class family. So the finances are always the topmost issues for everyone, right? So right, jumping into the main slide, here it is. Before applying for any step exam, you have to register with this ECFMG registration. You have to register with the ECFMG. The registration fees is $160 for it, right? Once you have done your ECFMG registration, then you can apply for your step one exam or step two exam or step three exams from within your ECFMG account. The step one examination fees for Pakistan actually it's $1195. So keep on adding these $160 in the initial, followed by $1195 for the step one exam fees. Now, you would very honestly, it's one of the most important question bank you have to do for the step one exam, and it's a very high yield as well. So UWord gives you like options for 30 days access, 90 days access, 180 days access, and lastly the 360 days access with a variable range of prices ranging from 319, 439, 479, and $559, right? Uh, Also, you would be needing a passport before like ECFMG registration. One specific thing I would like to add to this that you are not supposed to pay this $1195 at once in a one single chunk, because which is kind of a problem for the undergraduate students over here. Because if at the current dollar PKR exchange rates, it makes it like 350, 3,50,000. So for this, I have done this thing for you people. This is actually a show of your EasyFMG account, right? This is the main screen for the EasyFMG account. Here, in the initial stage, you can see that USMLE begin a new application, USMLE Step 1 and our Step 2 CK. Here, you can start the application for Step 1. Below is, you can see this Oasis. When you click on this Oasis, this comes, right? Now, the main point here is that looking to the left side of this, you have like applicant contact information, and coming down to financial account summary. When you click on the financial account summary, this will be the main board then. What the main point here is that you have this option, make an online payment. By making an online payment, it gives you an option. The ECFMG account actually gives you an option that this account can actually serve as a bank account for you, where you can put on your cash whenever you have it, in even a little amount, even if you are having $200 or $300 or $400 at your own convenience. And once it becomes enough for your step one fees, that is $1195, then you can start your application. You can see here in the dates actually, like it's, you can see 15th of April 2023 payment I have done 1200 of payment, right? And I actually used this payment by 2nd of July 2023, like charge 1195 for my step one fees. So it's like whenever you have the money, you can just put it into your account by making an online payment. It will stay, it will be reserved in your account, and once it's like $1200 and you are all ready for your step one exam, you can then apply for your step exam. So I think that will be all on my behalf for the step one exam finances. Thank you.
Anandar, are you there? Thank you, Wahab. Okay,
I think
I guess.
um,
Mhm.
yeah.
All
Can
right.
I proceed over here?
Yeah. Before going to for Adam's content, I would appreciate what Wahab just mentioned, that that's what basically I did. Like I stretched my journey across like second year, third year, fourth year, final year med school. So throughout 4 years, it's considerably easier to pay for your exams and stuff, as opposed to eventually at the end in final year or fourth year, booking your exams and registering with ECFMG, and then booking your getting your UL, and then right away after a few months taking your step 2 try at that, like makes all the payments in like in 1 year. But if you stretch out your journey, that's one. And this is another benefit, that you can divide the costs through years, and initially register, and then time to time you add up money to your account. I appreciate that point. I have Adam, over to you.
Okay. So, Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Anand Said. I'm a final year MBBS student at Khyber Medical College. My part of the presentation will cover the resources that we mostly use for USMLE Step 1, right? So, moving on to the next slide. This is the list of the resources that there are the most important ones. They are around 9 resources, and I would like you guys to take a screenshot of it if you don't know about these resources. So this is an entire list of 9 resources, right? So I hope you have taken a screenshot or something. Moving on to the first resource, first aid
Other,
for stroke.
sorry to interrupt. If you can be a bit louder, because someone asked in the
Right.
chat.
Is it better now?
Yeah,
No.
it's fine.
Okay, fine. So this is the first resource, first aid for step one USMLE. It is probably the most important book that you're supposed to have while preparing for step one. It contains all the high yield material in the form of tables, images, and mnemonics, and it covers all the preclinicals, physiology, pathology, and pharmacology. And the good thing about this book is that it follows a pattern for each system. It starts with embryology, then it covers gross anatomy, then physiology, then pathophysiology, and lastly pathology and pharmacology. And how to approach first aid, how to use this resource. I'll share my personal experience regarding all of the resources over here. You study first aid along with B&B. B&B is a set of video lectures that you're supposed to have for step one. So you cover first aid along with B&B video lectures. Like you use first aid as a notes for B&B, and you can annotate, your first aid along with your B&B lectures. And the good thing about first aid, as I shared before, is that it has a pattern that you're supposed to follow. And so B&B video lectures also have a pattern. What they do is they cover embryology, then they jump to anatomy, physio, and pathophysiology, and pathology, and then lastly pharmacology. This is how you study first aid. And then the next slide is about Pathoma. Pathoma is like they say the Bible for step one, pathology. And this is like a must study resource for pathology. And it makes pathology, I've written here that 100 times easier. Probably, like, obviously an exaggeration, but it does make a lot of things easier and easy to retain. And it is easily available. You can ask your seniors, they probably have it. How to approach first Pathoma? Petoma has like books, and it has a book, and then it has video lectures as well. So you watch video lectures along with the book. You annotate the book, and once you are done with Petoma, with pathology from Petoma, then you can jump from Petoma to B&B pathology. And so, for example, if you're done with pathology from Petoma and you're doing it again, like a second time from uh, B&B, I think you'll be easily able to watch it on 2x even, and because you probably know most of the stuff about that system from Petoma. And secondly, one important thing that I have noticed personally is that Pathoma mostly focuses on the histopathology of a system, right? Histopathology of a disease. And what first aid and B&B does is it also touches, or it also focuses on mm, the on the pathophysiology as well, not histopathology, on pathophysiology as well. So that's why I think if you are done with pathology from pathoma, I don't think you should ignore B and B as well. Like you should cover that from B and B as well. You can move from pathoma to B and B for pathology, and not the other way around. And then comes boards and beyonds, B and B for step one. It has video lectures and it also has lecture notes. And you don't really need the lecture notes because I have never have I seen them, anyone using them. And it covers all the preclinicals as well, like first aid does. It also follows a pattern like first aid. And personally, I find it a bit deficient for pathology, as I've said in the previous slide as well. So you are supposed to do pathology from pathoma and then jump to B&B for pathology, right? How to approach boards and beyonds? Watch the lectures alongside first aid, following the pattern given in first aid. As I've mentioned before, you don't need to take notes. A lot of people, they do take notes, which I think is a waste of time. They already have like the high yield stuff written for you on first aid, and the most you can do is annotate your first aid, and I think that would do. Then comes Kaplan. Kaplan is a resource that I have used only for two subjects, biochemistry and neurosciences. For as a second year student, I think if you're covering biochemistry from Pankaj or the other books, it's better to cover it from Kaplan. It is like a very good resource, and even if you're preparing for step one as well, it is a good resource to cover biochemistry from, and also a good resource to cover neurosciences from, especially the neuroanatomy portion. Then comes the sketchy videos and notes. Okay, so sketchy has it also has like a book, and then it has video lectures as well, and it covers micropharmacology, pathology, and it is highly recommended for microbiology and pharmacology. But sketchy pathology, I haven't seen anyone using it. I haven't used it myself, and I don't think I would recommend it. I think again, Pathoma is the go-to book for pathology. And how to approach sketchy. So you watch a video obviously, and then you study the sketch from the book once. And for retention, what I did personally was I used Anki, right? So Anki would, I think most of you would know, and I think we have a few questions on it for the later as well, and we'll talk about how to use Anki. But for retention and for like spaced repetition, I think Anki is the best source to use alongside with Sketchy, to to memorize the sketches, to have like a picture memory of that. And one thing about Sketchy, I personally like tell a lot of people to start your step one prep with, start your step one prep with covering most of the microbiology from Sketchy first. Like you start your prep with covering microbiology from Sketchy, and then you jump to the system. So this way, so every system has its own microbes, right, that you're supposed to study. For example, pneumonia has its own microbes that you're supposed to study. So once you are done with these microbes before you start the systems, you're probably done with like 10 to 20% of that system. And so you'll find it very easily once you're done with the sketches of those microbes. Then comes Pixorize. Pixorize is it works the same as Sketchy, and it is mostly recommended for biochemistry, and it helps with the retaining the diseases, the storage diseases. For example, in the biochemistry portion, they're a bit difficult to retain. So I think Pixorize is a very good source for that. I haven't used it myself, but I've heard a lot about it. And by the end of my prep, I did I did realize that I should have covered it from Pixorize biochemistry. So that's why I recommend it to people. It's not a must-to-use resource. Then comes YouTube channels. We have like two important channels that I used myself. Randy Neal, it is recommended for biostatistics and ethics. It's very important for biostatistics, I would say, because I could not score good on my UWorld biostats portion. And so I started watching Randy Neal videos, and he has these videos, these short videos of 30 seconds and 1 minute for biostatistics MCQs, and I find them very helpful. And it has shortcuts as well for biostats. And dirty medicine, what you can do with dirty medicine is that you can use it by the end of, like towards the end of your prep to memorize difficult concepts. Then comes the last one, UWorld. UWorld is a QBank for step one. How to approach UWorld? I think we have Sarah for that, and Sarah will be uh, proceeding from here.
All right. Thank you, Adam. I would quickly summarize what Adam the resources Adam mentioned, because I think there was a voice problem, but I do think everybody did understand. So the main resources he mentioned were Pathoma for pathology, and first aid as the go-to book for, considering it as the Bible for, step exams. First aid is a book which you buy like in your first year of med school. My recommendation is to buy it like as soon as you come to med school. This is the first thing you should start with, first aid book, and study it along with everything like physiology you're learning from anywhere. If you're watching any lectures in your class or anything, just keep up with first aid all the time for your modular exams, for your prof exams, for your step one, for your step two, all the time throughout your medical school journey. And Pathoma as the go-to book for pathology, and then covering all the stuff from boards and beyond. Wherever you think there are gaps existing, you cover those stuff from boards and beyond, because it holistically revises and sheds lights on every topic. Specifically, it goes along with first aid. So if you look at first aid, BNB, boards and beyond, has videos on almost every topic that first aid has. So if you have a hard time understanding a topic in first aid, just go to that specific module in boards and beyond videos, and you are going to find a relevant video on that topic in boards and beyond, right? And just watch that video and then start, then look at first aid. I'm sure you're going to understand. And then UWorld, which is like the go-to question bank as per our recommendation, and Amboss, of course, like these two question banks, they stand on the top. And apart from that, you can use Pixorize, you can use Kaplan for some specific things, Kaplan for neuroscience, neuroanatomy, and for some physiology like respiratory system, cardiovascular system. They have done it really well, Conrad Fisher. And neuroanatomy by Dr. White, and biochemistry by Dr. Turco. So I hope the resources are pretty much clear. Anatomy you can do from any resource that you want to. You can use Kaplan, and you can also use your the books you read for your home exams, right? So over to Sarah to continue with the question bank. Thank you. Sarah, you have to unmute your mic. You're not audible, so you'll have to click the mic sign on your screen. You're still not audible, so.
Okay, so like I'm just gonna say a few things about the UWorld, and like how to, like a few points about how to use it. So basically, like we know that the QBank, that is UWorld, and sometimes people use Amboss for preparation as well, but UWorld is the gold standards. The reason for this is that we in lectures, we passively learn the data, while using QBanks, we actively recall the information and apply it. That's why like it is the best resource for doing the step one. And regarding this, I would just like to say that like most of the time people spend the early hours of the morning when they have the highest levels of energy on passive use resources, such as uh, videos as well as Anki reviews. I would like to recommend those people like who have just started using the QBank to start like set up a schedule for themselves, and then the first thing in the morning they should do is do the questions and do the review as well, and also do the new Anki cards. And while they're doing the questions, they should actively engage with the questions, which means like they should develop their diagnostic skills, which we will talk inshallah in some later lectures. So Like, this is all I have to say. Like, onto the question and answer section.
All right, thank you so much, Sarah. So to summarize, what she stressed upon is that whenever you're shifting to the question bank part of the preparation for your exam, it is good to do questions early in the morning or at times in which during which you are the most active, because active recall is the most productive way and efficient way to study for exams, to memorize stuff. There are a lot of people ask that who usually ask the question that I have a problem memorizing things because, let's say I studied cardiology today, and then I started respiratory and hemonc, and then renal. At the end of my preparation, I've pretty much forgotten what cardiology had. So the usual recommendation that I give is, number one thing, start more active learning. Active learning, as in, don't go there and watch boards and beyond lectures two times, three times, four times, five times. It's useless, because you see, the thing with step exams is that it's MCQ based exam, right? And you have almost around 90 seconds to mark an answer in a question and go ahead. You won't have time to think about a lot of stuff. The important thing that you need to understand about step exams is that the ability to solve questions, the ability to apply your knowledge, more than it is an ability to memorize things, it is the ability to solve questions that is required. So you don't need to worry about forgetting what the P wave looked like in AVNRT, or what the QRS was in a specific tachycardia subtype, or what the specific drug name was for that specific condition or microbiologic condition. That's not what step one is about. Step one is about practicing how to recognize meningitis, how to recognize MI, how to recognize pulmonary embolism, how to recognize specific scenarios on a question. And if you look at step one exam, and if you ask people who just take their exams, what they'll tell you is that step one had everything, and it didn't, it doesn't really go into the minute details apart from a very small chunk of the exam. Maybe 5 to 10% of the exam is what is the alpha 3 or alpha 4 chain or something like that, some specific question about that. But the huge chunk of an exam is recognizing nephrotic versus nephritic, recognizing being able to tell apart encephalitis versus meningitis, telling apart MI from pulmonary embolism. If you can differentiate between things, if you can know, if you read a few lines of the question and you literally start thinking about a few differentials, that's where you are on a good level for your preparation. So it's good to start with question banks early, as opposed to covering the whole content in 2 to 3 years and then at the end giving just 3 months to a question bank. A good thing would be to start question bank alongside your studies and giving it a very considerable time of your prep. If you're studying for 10 hours, maybe give at least 3 to 5 hours to question bank and learn the new content alongside. I hope that's clear. So, Alamdar, are you here?
Assalamu alaikum. Am I audible?
Yeah.
So first of all, I'm really sorry. I just had to go because of some connectivity issue, but I'm hopefully back, and I'll continue it from here. So thank you so much, Walid Bhai, for taking over. I'll try to continue from here.
All right. So, what's the next question?
If I'm not wrong, we head over to the finances portion,
Yeah.
right, Wahab Bhai?
We covered the finances, we covered the resources, and we also covered the Sarah's portion about UL. So I
Okay,
guess
so okay, so
on to questions now.
okay, now we are on to the questions and answers part, right? So before we start that, just let me open the file. Okay, okay. So the way we are going to do this, I'm talking to the panel and also to the audiences, that I'll ask a question, and a maximum of two speakers that answer the question based on like who thinks like they know the most about that question, like who have the most relevant answer to that question. And also, since we have a lot of questions and we will try to take some live questions as well, please make your answers very brief, like 30 seconds to 1 minute. It should not exceed 1 minute. So with that, I'll just start off the questions. Like I said, many of these have already been covered in these talks that have been given already by Walid, by Wahab, by and the others. But still, if there's anything new, you people can always chip in, right? So the first question is that my question is, if you are the student of final year MBBS and you are good in basics and pathology, biostatistics, etc. So what should be the strategy and duration for step one prep?
Alamdar, my answer would to this would be like, what? How do you know about what you have in your mind or not? Like most of the students actually are confused कि मुझसे चीजें भूल गई है, but that's not true. भूलती कभी भी नहीं है. You have to test yourself by question bank, by doing the questions. Actually, question bank will tell you how much of the things, how much of the course have you retained, are in there in your memory, and how much have you forgotten. So at this stage in final year, in my opinion, since the student is already done with the past 4 years and he must have studied a lot of things in these years like Petoma, Sketchy, Kaplan, he would have gone through those sources in third, fourth, first and second year. So just start with the question bank and do the questions, and at whatever points you stuck in, just open the first aid and read that. So I think first a U word, starting a U word will be the best option.
Right. So what you're saying is that just directly, instead of revising the whole course from videos and books, just directly get yours subscription. Just go for that, and wherever you feel like there's something that you have forgotten or you feel deficient in, you can always go back to those conventional resources.
Yes. All comes down to one single point that Sarah already mentioned: active versus passive. U word is active learning. Watching the lectures again and again is a passive learning. That's never gonna help.
Right. So, like you said, that if you're in final year, you probably already have been through all those passive modes of learning. And according to Wahaba, you should just directly go for question banks. Thank you, Wahab. Okay, so the second question is that study schedule plus resources for second year student, along with how to deal with KMU syllabus. So before any of you start speaking, I think Waleed Bhai and Adam Bhai in the talk about preparation and the resources, they've already gone through like pretty much the main crux of this question. But if any one of you would like to summarize it, like as a second year student, how do you utilize the resources and how do you like still manage to score well in KMU exams? That's the question.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but I think Sarah wanted to talk about the last previous question. So if you can talk about, you can mention like 30 seconds to a minute, talk about it. Yeah.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
I just had one more thing to add to it. Since you're already a final year student and you say you have a good grasp over everything, so you can just start off by giving UL self-assessment one, and like you can get a better like idea of like how much preparation you need to do further, and then you can like start using your UL and like test yourself at like regular intervals so that you can quickly get a date and get done with it.
Right. Thank you, Sarabaji. Okay. So along with that, now we'd come to the second question that I already explained. So any of you who would like to summarize it regarding that question, like a study schedule, as both a first year, a second year, or even a third year student, like what should be the study schedule, the resources, and the main catch here is that how do you manage it along with scoring well in KMU exams?
Okay, so Alamdar, if I could comment on this.
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, so as Walid Bhai said as well, that first and second year of your med school are the years that you are supposed to strengthen your basics. And as I've heard from my seniors as well, that first and second year is the year that you build your stamina to study books, stamina to sit for like 7 8 hours. And I think in first and second year, what you should do is stick to your main books, stick to the guidance. I'm not sure if others will agree with me on this, but I think a best strategy would be to stick to the basic, the big books, the Guyton, the Snells, Grace maybe. And for example, for biochemistry, you can use Kaplan, because obviously there's no like there's not another better book for that. But personally, I would say stick to the bigger books. You don't have to use any other resources than the already conventional resources in your college that are probably Guyton, histopathology. For histo, you have some I forgot the name, and for anatomy you have Snell's and Ray's. I think it would be better if you stick to that. You study them in detail, because these are the basics. You have to strengthen them, and you have to also build your stamina in the future.
Right, Adam. So do we have any other opinions
Yeah,
on this?
that I would like to add to this.
Sure.
Most of the students have asked regarding the KMU and the STEP exam. So in my opinion, these days modular system is the best thing for us. It is very helpful for us. Like जो भी आपका मॉड्यूल चल रहा है उसी के बेस पे आप अपने स्टडी को पैटर्नाइज करें. अगर आप लोगों का न्यूरो चल रहा है तो न्यूरो को एज इन उस तरह पढ़े कि वो आपके लिए स्टेप के साथ भी प्रिपेयर हो जाए. फॉर एग्जांपल, ये भी एक पॉइंट है कि न्यूरो में जो हमारा मॉड्यूलर सिस्टम है कॉलेज में आप लोगों को बहुत ज्यादा टाइम मिलता है. इन सेकेंड ईयर द न्यूरो is having like 9 weeks of module. 9 weeks is some 2.5 months. 2.5 months में आप न्यूरो एनाटमी भी कर सकते हैं, आप न्यूरो फिजियो भी कर सकते हैं, साथ में न्यूरो पैथोलॉजी भी कर सकते हैं और थोड़ा बहुत फार्मा भी कर सकते हैं. सो आई थिंक फर्स्ट ईयर से लेके फोर्थ ईयर तक या थर्ड ईयर तक जितने भी आपके मॉड्यूल्स है, ट्राई टू मतलब अपने जो स्टेप की प्रिपरेशन है उसको उन्हीं मॉड्यूल्स में ही ट्राई कवर करना सीख जाए. दिस वे आप लोगों का जो इंटरनल एग्जाम्स है, ब्लॉक एग्जाम्स है, आप लोगों के जो प्रॉफ एग्जाम है, एवरीथिंग विल बी कवर्ड. स्टेप में इजाफी क्या है? स्टेप में इजाफी यूवर्ड है, स्टेप में इजाफी आप लोगों का मतलब फर्स्ट एड है, स्टेप में इजाफी बी लेक्चर्स है, और बाकी जिस तरह से भी आप लोग इस मॉड्यूल्स को पढ़ते हैं ऑलरेडी तो उस तरह कवर करने की कोशिश कर ले. सो दिस थिंग इज synchronize your study, your step study with the KMU study as per the modular system. Thank you.
Yeah, can I give a short opinion? Someone asked as well. So
Sure, Vajan.
yeah, so my 2 cents on this is that I've been through both ways. Like I initially started my med school journey as I wasn't very intent on taking step exams, so I did study Snell, I did study Guyton, I did study the like Hussein a bit. I did study Jumquera, a book for histology, which is I think a better book than like Hussein in my opinion, because it is more illustrative than just laying out the text. But then when I reached second and third year, I abandoned using those resources, and then I shifted to concise and shorter resources and shifted to question banks and Anki more. Then what I did was when a junior would ask me, if to a few people, I recommended Costanza book for physiology, and I didn't really recommend them to study a big longer book for histology, but I did recommend them that they should study a long book for anatomy. So for physiology, I recommended them Costanza, and for anatomy, either Grace or Snell, right? And BD, everybody reads that for general anatomy. The response that I got after 2 years or 3 years from them when they covered their basics in prof exams and as well as for step exam was really nice. And they told me that Costanza was a book they really found helpful. What I want to mention is that find the middle ground. Don't keep don't just stick to the long books throughout your med school journey, that you miss out on the concise and good resources, the active recall portion. Because at the end of the day, now sitting here in like having cleared final year, I don't think so reading Guyton helped me that much, reading Snell helped me that much. In application of knowledge, your question taking ability, your ability to to solve questions, to solve scenarios, to think critically is more important as opposed to reading through long books. However, it is good that you start with those things, those resources, to lay out and just give yourself an introduction to the field of medicine, right? But I wouldn't recommend a third year student reading long books, right? I wouldn't recommend that. That's the thing with Anki as well. If a first year student asks me about Anki, my suggestion is always to yes, do Anki maybe for a year or two, and once you remember the stuff, just close it up and move on to active recall, question banks, MBOS, UWorld, self-assessment, NBMEs, and stuff like that. Don't stick to those resources now. But when a fourth year student or a final year student asks me about that, my response is always, you're past that stage where you would do Anki every day. Now just sit and do questions, because you might have done those books and stuff, whatever you did. you can just revise from shorter resources and go ahead from there. I hope that that gives a good overview.
Yes, that's perfect. So I think there has been a lot of discussion regarding this question already, but since this is like probably the most frequently asked question by all of the participants, I would just like to take 5 or 10 more seconds to just chip in a little. Like I haven't been through my step one exam already, but I do have a little experience with using both of these resources. Like in my second year, I'm not really a guy who studies from books a lot, but I did watch those Ninja Nerd videos and other videos where you really like, they explain things in a lot of detail. And then in third year, I just switched to things like BNB and Pathoma and Kaplan, and I can really feel the difference that at the end of the day, though back then, like when I was studying from those long resources, I felt like I knew everything, like I was understanding everything. But now that I think about it, I don't remember a lot of that stuff. In contrast to that, when I was watching BNB and Pathoma, I felt like it was very overwhelming, that I was cramming a lot in a far less time. But in retrospect, I think I remember those concepts and those facts and that information much better than when I used longer resources for the same like study and stuff. So I think that would be a novice's take on this. With that, we'll just like to move to the next question. That is it okay to take steps after graduation?
A short answer would be it's definitely is okay, because if someone wants to pursue the journey, definitely. The recommended thing is not that. Recommended thing is to take the exams as anybody else in the US would do. Start early. Start in your first year, in your second year, think about it. Take your step one somewhere in your third year or your fourth year. Take your step two somewhere in your fourth year or final year. Take your OET exam, occupational English test, which is necessary for your ECFMG certification, somewhere in your final year or after that. And then, do rotations either in final year or after final year, and then apply for the match residency cycle. But if you're already graduated and you really want to pursue the journey, then of course, yeah, that's what 90% of the people in Pakistan would do a year or two from now, before, right? So, but since the trend is changing, people are becoming more aware. It's good to start your journey early. If you're already graduated, just start with UL and get done with step one as soon as possible and move to the next step. Yeah.
Right. Do we have any other speakers who want to speak on the same topic? Right. I guess we'll move to the next one, which is that how to increase speed of first aid reading while on the first go. I am too slow. Some useful tips, if any.
Okay. My short answer to this would be reading first aid. Again, it's a passive method. I don't recommend reading first aid per se. The recommendation is whenever you watch lectures, you watch Pathoma, you have an idea about MI, you have an idea about a specific topic. Your next step should be to solve questions on MI, to solve questions on cardiology, pathology, right? Go to UWorld. You can select specific topics, you can select specific systems, specific discipline, and you can shrink it down to a very specific portion of the step one content. Choose that, start doing questions, maybe do 5 to 10 questions on that. And alongside that, it's your first time doing UL now. Don't worry about if you got the question wrong or correct. What you should be doing is, I think this is a really good strategy. Open your first aid in front of you. Don't worry about, it's not cheating or something. It's a learning process. Open your UL, you solve a question on MI, you got it wrong, you got it right, doesn't matter. You learn it from there. Go to the next question, go to the next question. Let's say today you did questions on cardiomyopathy, on myocardial infarction, on EKGs, whatever. Later on, or maybe along with that, when you're reading the UL explanation, open your first aid and look at that topic from there. That way, you'll be learning actively. You won't miss on anything important, because the problem is You can spend 2-3 months reading first aid and learning and memorizing, and then at the end you would sit in front of you world, you'll get the same question on the same topic and you're getting it wrong just because you didn't focus on the main thing that was being tested on exam. The good idea would be to start doing questions, and it doesn't matter then if you're slow with that, as long as you're doing 20 questions a day and later on doing 40 questions a day. UL is 3000 to 3500 questions. You're ending the question bank within 3 to 5 to 6 months, or maybe even 8 months. As a third year student, as a fourth year student, if you do that in 5-6 months, you have read first aid actively, you have done the question bank, and you will remember a lot of stuff this way. You're almost prepared for exam. Just do amboss quickly, then random mode, you'll revise all the stuff alongside. You can keep revising first aid and take your exam, right? First pass, my recommendation, do it system wise, topic wise, along with first aid, and untimed. Tutor mode, go for tutor mode, solve a question, look at the answer, look at first aid, learn through that, and go from there. If you're using Anki, the story could be a bit different, but for a normally, if you're not using that, I think that's a good strategy.
Right. Do you have any other opinions on the same topic? Right. So since like Walid bhai just linked it, Ji Wahab bhai.
No, I mean, there's nothing.
Right, right. So since Walid Bhai, like, he shifted the conversation to your world along, like, he talked about using it with first aid. So I think that also answers the next question which we had, that was how to use your world to its maximum potential as a beginner. So I think Walid Bhai has really nicely outlined that. Like, you just study it you just use it as a learning tool, and you also have first aid with that. Okay, so the second question in connection to that is second pass really necessary? Like, is the second pass of your world really necessary? It's like it's a very simple answer, so we can just quickly go through that. Anyone who wants to go through it.
Okay. So like your second pass, I would recommend only for those people who like did their first pass very slowly and have the fear that they have forgotten most of the content. But before that, I would recommend that they do amboss and then do the UL second pass, so that uh, there is some gap between the first pass and the second pass, so that your scores aren't factitiously elevated and you get false reassurance. That's it.
Right. So what you're trying to say is that once you go through first pass of your world, what you should do is just try another question bank, that is preferably amboss, and then if you want to come to your world once again, after that you can just come and have another go.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Another point, if it would depend upon whether or not you're a preclinical student or a clinical student. For example, if you are a second year or a third year student and you have the time like 2 to 3 months till your exam, or even 40 days or 50 days after finishing your UL first pass, then the recommendation, my suggestion would be, and that's what I suggested to a friend, and he had a really good review about it, that what I suggested him was that he was thinking that he'll do first year, he'll revise the whole first year in the last 30 days or something. What I recommended him was, uh, I asked him if he's done with UL, and he said yes. And I asked him about his scores. They were around 65% or somewhere around that in NBMEs. I suggested him that he should do amboss random in study mode. Study or exam mode is your choice. I personally like the study mode more because you click and you get the answer and you learn quickly, and you don't have to come back and revise the whole block at the end of the day, right? So I recommended him that, and that's exactly what I did for step 2 as well. You see the point, when you're doing 100 questions a day or 120 questions a day quickly, like 3 to 4 blocks a day, and you finish the whole question bank within 3 weeks, within 4 weeks, that considerably elevates your score, because you've revised the whole content. You will have the fear that I've forgotten the first few things that I read in first aid or with UWorld, but if you revise the whole stuff with AMPOS, it's really it really helps elevate the score. And he came back to me telling me that he took an NBME after 25 days or 30 days, and he scored an 85 on that, 85% on that. So, the thing about step exams, again, it's practice. More than its memory, it's practice. If you want to increase your scores from 70s to 80s, from 60s to 70s, from 80s to 90s, a good strategy would be to do new questions. Anki, revising the question bank again, reading the book again, highlighting with yellow and then orange and then black and then blue. What it will do is it will keep you on the same level. If you're in the 60s, you won't come down, but you won't go up because you're reading the same thing again. But if you do a new perspective, emboss, some other question bank, NBMEs, CMS forms, assessments, Mailman PDFs, and some videos, some other resources, it will really elevate your score. And questions, if you have to choose between Anki and question bank and lectures and some other thing, the best thing to choose would be to solve questions instead of doing some other thing.
Right. I think one thing that Walid Bhai forgot to mention is that if you use all those reds and blues and greens, your first year would look really pretty. But that's not the goal here. But anyway, that's a very fine answer. We'll go to the next one unless someone wants to add anything. Okay, right. So there's a question which says that please tell us if watching videos is a must or not. I'm not a video person. I studied all previous years, year 1 through 4, without watching a single video. Thank you.
A quick answer would be whatever works for you. Adam has laid out the resources that you should use, and that pretty much everybody recommends. At the end of the day, whatever works for you. Someone uses Anki, it works for them. Someone uses Anki, it's horrible for them. There is no single one resource that there are people who never used first aid and they still did step exam. So at the end of the day, it comes down to your personal choices and what your study method is like. Some people use long resources, some people use concise resources. Go according to what helps you the most. If you're scoring well on UWorld, Amboss, on assessments, go ahead. You don't need to watch videos just because the other guy is doing that.
Right, thank you. Okay, so another question is, okay, since we are short on time, so if anyone wants to like chip in, they should like, just do it themselves right after first speaker stops speaking, right? So that we, save time. Okay, so another question is, what's a good pace for completion of each system? So now I think they're talking about system as in first aid system or like something like that. So what's a good pace for completing each system?
Actually, that would certainly depend upon the year you are in and how much you have learned in the previous year. Let's suppose if a student is in third year or fourth year, so they have learned anatomy and physio and biochemistry back in the years, they just need to have a quick revision from BNB along with first aid. But since pathology and pharma will be new subjects in the third and fourth year, then they have to give some time to patho and pharma, sketchy pharma, or Kaplan pharma, do it that way. Lastly, it will also depend that whether they are going to do the U-word questions and the Anki cards with it or not. For example, the CVS systems took me some 40 days in my third year to cover it in a whole, because first I did the lectures with the first aid, with the pathology, with the pathoma, and with the sketchy. After that, I did the U-word question. U-word has some 440 question for the CVS system that takes some 12 to 13 days. So it will wholly and solely depends upon the way you study it. If you are leaving the whole question back to the end, it will take less time. If you are not doing Anki, it will take much less time. If you have already studied it in your second year, third year, and fourth year, and you are a final year student, it will take even least time. So that certainly depend upon where you actually stand at this moment.
Right, thank you, Habai. So, two very straightforward questions. There's a resource called Boot Camp. If any of you has any experience with that, would you recommend it or not? Right, I'm presuming no one really has been through it. So, in such scenarios, the rule of the thumb is You just check it for yourself, and like Walid Bhai said, if it works for you, well, that's a win-win. But if you are a bit skeptical, like if you want to, like, you want to be really sure whether it's a good thing or not, then just stick to the conventional ways, like this conventional high yield resources that all the seniors and the people who have, cleared this exam before you, whatever they're using, you can just stick to that. So whatever works for you. Okay. Are mailman's PDFs necessary? A very straightforward question once again.
I have done it for my I have done it for the immuno portion and as well as the genetics portion in the very much last days. Like it was some 15-20 days before my test, and I just got to know about the Mehlman PDF files. It actually summarizes it in a very brief and concise way. So whoever is weak, like I gave my NBME and I got to point out few things that I am weak in immuno, I am weak in genetics, and I just go through the PDF files of Mehlman for genetics, for immuno as well. So I will recommend it for these two systems. If anyone else has done it for any other system, they can just have a say about it.
Alamdar, if I could comment on this, I think all the resources that you have, you're not supposed to touch all of them, and you're not supposed to listen to some other person. As Walid Bhai said, that if another person is doing this Mehman PDF, and if he's studying from it and if he passes, doesn't mean that if you don't study it from it, you will fail. For example, I think what about resources, what one should do is they should touch each and every resource for a while. For example, first I did Melman as well, but I did it for like 2 days because I couldn't find it very useful. So if I can not find it useful, I didn't do it. I didn't fail my exam. Doesn't mean that it was the most important resource, right? So if you touch it, you look for yourself, and if it doesn't benefit you, you can skip it. Obviously, it's not the main resource.
Right, and so that reminds me of something that I just saw online regarding this USMLE prep, that when it comes to resources for the USMLE, less is more, and I think that's very true, because like if you check the internet or you go online, there are like a myriad resources. You have osmosis, and you have physio, and you have like all these different resources. So if you try to just go through all of them, it will just, too many cooks, they'll just spoil the broth. So that's I think a very wise way to go about it. Like Adam Bhai said, that apart from the very important ones that you think everybody does, that you should do as well, like BNB and Pathoma and First Aid and UWorld. Apart from that, if there's any resource that you find appealing, you should just give it some time, see if it works for you. If not, you should not worry too much about it, like not have any worries that you will fail or not score well if you don't check it out. So that's a really nice summary of it. Okay, so now I'll come to the dedicated period, since a lot of students from third year, fourth year, final year are like, they'll be appearing in the coming few months. So the thing is that first of all, they're asking what should be the schedule for, like, what should be their schedule, their routine during the dedicated period.
I would like the recent test takers to comment on that.
Okay, so
Yes,
I will
please.
comment on this. I will comment on this that for me and in my perspective, the dedicated period is some 100 to 120 days, right? And the schedule is whatever time suits you, whatever time you can study, but you have to study for more hours, to be very honest. Like I myself studied for like 9 to 10 and up to 11 hours in my dedicated period. What my strategy was to do the question bank, the UWorld question bank online. When I reached a point like 65 to 60 to 65%, I gave first NBME 26. I started with NBME 26, and after each and every week, like after 1 week, I would give NBME and again look for my weak points in NBMEs. That was my strategy for the dedicated period was, and see why I'm wrong, why I'm making these questions incorrect. So in NBME 26, I scored 74%, and then my score increased to 75 and 76 and 77. So the dedicated period simply means to actively and aggressively approach toward the step exam. Just come to the conclusion and climax of your study, make things correct, like whatever, जो भी आपसे questions गलत हो रहे हैं उनको कोशिश करो कि उसको किस तरीके से रिवाइज करो, उसके लिए ज्यादा क्वेश्चंस करो, एम्बॉस के क्वेश्चंस कर लो, डर्टी मेडिसिन देख लो, कोई लेक्चर देख लो, फर्स्ट एड में क्विक रीड दे दो, but somehow you need to correct them so as to increase your NBME scores, and that what actually means by dedicated period, and that's what actually the strategy should be.
Yeah. A small comment on it. Thank you, Wahab. Another point I want to make it is, if you have a lot of things to revise and you don't really know if you should do your notes or if you should revise a flashcard, or if you read first aid, my recommendation would always be to, if you're not yet done with Amboss, pick up Amboss, purchase it for a month or for however long you have. My recommendation would be to solely sit and do the whole Amboss question bank within 3 weeks or 4 weeks at maximum, and you definitely can do it. Do 3 to 4 blocks a day. That's what I did for step 2, and it considerably increased my score. Like, I can't tell you enough how much it helps, because you can't go and revise every single word in first aid. Question bank will orient you to the most important things on exam. Might be you go to the exam, on exam day you don't know what Niemann-Pick disease type 2 or whatever it treatment was. Doesn't matter. Get that question, make an educational guess, and you most likely will get it correct, because you might have revised the other options and you'll be excluding answers. But the point I want to make is, the dedicated period is the time where you orient yourself towards the exam now.
Yes.
You did osmosis, you read a book, you read Costanzo, leave it behind now. Now you're taking step 1 within the next 1 month or 2 months or 3 weeks or 2 weeks. Orient yourself to the topics that are the most tested on exam. And where do you find those topics? On the question banks. Some Reddit posts, people post it on Reddit as well. Like, I had my exam, these things were, heavily tested. Focus on those things: communication, ethics questions, biostatistics, pathology, the first 3 chapters of pathoma, and immunology, the receptors and stuff like that, the microbiology. These are the most important things that are tested on exam, so make sure you do that. And a very important thing: last week of exam, rest well, rest well, rest well, sleep well, because if there is one thing that is going to make a difference in your score, it is a good night's sleep, and a relaxed mind that you go to the exam with. I cannot stress enough on this, because I have a personal experience and everybody would have it. But if someone didn't take a scored exam yet, once you do it, you'll know. If I compare my step 1 to my step 2, one thing that considerably helped me was, in the last week I wasn't giving shit about anything. The main thing that I'm concerned about now is the preparation that I've done for the last 2 3 4 years. Step 1, step 2, all the stuff. I just want to have a relaxed mind so that I can think rationally. That's all. It's You can revise the whole step 1, step 2 content in 3 days or a week. So if you are rested well, it is very likely that you'll recognize the pattern on the exam and you'll get that question correct. So yeah, keep that in mind.
Right. So now there's a question. First of all, so the question, I'll elaborate it a little, is that how long should your dedicated period be? Now, before anyone comments on it, I'll say that if someone is in fourth year or final year, if they have booked their triad and they have a mindset, so like they'll probably go for it within the 3 or 4. So like they have to go for it in the next 3 or 4 or 5 months. So for them, it is like it is quite sensical that you just if you have less time, just start your dedicated period already. But since we have a lot of first year, second year, third year students, and the problem I would say with starting early is you have such a lot of time that you don't know from where do you start your dedicated period and for how long should it continue, because obviously the course, it's the material that it's really it's vast, so you just never feel fully prepared. So what should be like the ideal optimal time where you just prepare well enough, but at the point where you're just not like overemphasizing or things that probably won't matter in the exam. So like a sweet spot. What would be everyone's? I would actually like to know everyone's POV on this.
So once you think that you have gone through all of the course and you are like you have gone through all of the course and just give one single NBME and get to know about where you actually stand, right? Then focus on the incorrect one and try to find out the reasons. Do more questions for that. If the systems are weak, do more questions for that, emboss, and just try to give another NBME in a progressively. Your score must increase in a progressive manner, and that's what the main strategy is. When to give when are you supposed to consider your dedication period has started is when you just get done with your course and give an NBME. That's where it all starts.
Right, Walid bhai.
Yeah, to be honest, I never had a dedicated period. What I did was I would do UL, like right from the start, and I would do Anki. Since I took my exam in third year, I used Anki for a considerable amount of time, and my exam was the very next day. I guess maybe a day break after my third year, theory exam. So I never actually had like let's just study first upon. It was all about let's okay, I have a paper, so let's revise that quickly. And from UL, so at the end of the day, I was preparing for step one, but I was getting my exams done. And that's exactly what you will have to do in somewhere in your step one or your step two. Everything won't align that well that you'll have considerable dedicated period. But just make sure you're doing your question banks to an appropriate amount of questions every day. A good healthy amount is one block a day. Maybe you can start from 20 and then you can increase to 30 and then 40. Towards the end, I would do 3 blocks, 2 blocks. Even in the last few weeks, I did like 5 blocks a day. But just for the practice and to make myself, familiarized with the test environment and stuff, I would get a stopwatch and stuff. Assessments. Make sure you do the assessments, at least 1 to 2 assessments in the exam timings, and you take along everything. You know when to eat, when you need break, like are you going to do 2 blocks at back to back, or I personally took break after every block in step one and step two, and it worked for me. Like I was fine chill and just pray whenever space time, go eat something, have coffee. But dedicated period, I don't even know, like it's something made up. There is nothing like some official dedicated thing. So dedicated, maybe it means that you just study for step one. Maybe if it's that, then yes. Like if you're doing some co-curriculars, some debates, some other stuff, in the last month or two, it's good to just quit on those things, just have a break and mainly focus on your exam. Now once you're done, just get back to your stuff again. So yeah, short point, dedicated, uh, you should be dedicated all throughout your journey. But if you mean like taking a break from other things, that maybe the last 4 weeks, 5 6 weeks or 2 months, that would be the best time, so that you can do 2 to 3 blocks a day, and that you'll only be able to do if you're not doing a lot of other things apart from your step one prep.
Yeah, so that's actually a very nice thing that I'll take from this talk, that be dedicated all the time. That's a really nice thing that Walid bhai pointed out. Okay, Adam bhai, if you want to say few words about this.
Okay, so as Walid Bhai said, that I will not comment on how long your dedicated period should be, because Walid Bhai probably, made it clear that you should be dedicated all the time. What I think you should be doing in your dedicated period is doing questions every day. Like if you are 1 month out from your exam, you're supposed to do 3 blocks, 2 blocks every day. Start with 2 blocks, do 3 blocks. That's what Walid Bhai told me as well when I was preparing for mine. I told Walid Bhai that I will be, shifting to first aid now, and then he told me that no, that's not a good uh, way to do this. I should do emboss, and I did emboss in like 15, 16 days. 120 questions, 140 questions every day. And I think that built up my stamina for the actual exam, and that increased my score from Like I was in the 70s, and after I was done with the embossed cubing in 15, 16 days, just 15, 16 days, I was in the 80s then. So I think that's what you should do in the dedicated period. Questions every day, and of course, after you are done with emboss, you are supposed to, you know, pay all your attention to the NBMEs as well. Start with NBME 25 or 26 and do, I think we have 31, NBME 31 as the last one, right? And so in your dedicated period, emboss questions, or if you're not done with your UWorld, start UWorld, mix, and be doing that UWorld and along with NBMEs, and of course the UWSAs as well.
Right. So can we have Sarah Baji on board regarding this question?
Well, I don't have anything particular to say about it, but regarding the date selection, I would like to say this, especially for those people who do not like to take risks. Like if you give an NPME and like your like you should be at least 5 to 10% above the like passing percentage, which I guess is around 60%. So like then you should choose a dedicated period like around 1 to 2 months, like not more than that. Otherwise, like burnout is a very common like thing that happens when you extend your dedicated period too long. So like it shouldn't be more than like 2 months, during which you should consistently practice questions and regularly test yourself with the NBMEs.
Right. So I think that's very holistic way to answer these questions. Like we have a lot of point of views, so we can tailor our preparation, date selection according to that. So that's a really nice way to go about it. Okay, so related to that, how there are two questions, very straightforward. How many NBMEs should I take before my exam? That's the first question. And the second is that if I am going through UWorld, so when should I ideally take the self-assessments, like right at the start or in between or at the end? So these two questions.
Okay, I think it pretty much depends on which year you are in, right? As Wahab said previously, if you are a final year student and you know your basics, just take one NBME, find out where you are standing, and then proceed with the rest. But if you are not, if you are, let's say, a third or fourth year student, you can take the NBMEs when you are done with like half of your, just to have an idea where you are standing. That's what I did. I did my first NBMEs when I was done with 56% of my UWorld, and I scored around 68, 69, right? And so that gave me an idea where I was standing. And so I think that's how you should take it as well. And how many NBMEs to take? I think the latest ones are important: NBME 29, 30, 31. These three are like the most important. If you have time and if you want to prepare, start your NBMEs early, you can start from 26. 25, I've heard is a bit difficult, but there's no harm in it. You can take it. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, around 7. You don't have to take them all, but 29, 30, 31, I think are the most important ones. And about UWSAs, I didn't take any of them myself because I was told that they are not very high yield. But you can like look for yourself, and maybe Wahab can comment on this. I think he attempted one of the UWSAs.
Gee, bhai, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I have to add about NBME. NBME, consider NBME as an actual exam, to be very honest. Like, as Walid Bhai said, that do the U word in a tutor mode and in the study mode, and just also do it systematically. NBME is actually considered it as an actual exam. Go for it consists of 200 MCQs divided into 4 blocks. Each block is having 50 MCQs. So give 1 hour to one block. Also consider that what's your how much time can you sit, how much MCQs can you do. And during my step preparation, Sarah once mentioned that just one time go for 280 MCQs. So for that I give one NBME, like whole 200 MCQs, and after that I gave two more. I just did two more UWord blocks so as to give 280 MCQs in total in just one whole single day. I also synchronized my breaks in between, like after one block I would take 5 or 6 minute break. After another block I would take like 5 or 6 minute break, 3 minutes break. And what I will do in that break, you must also know about that, because there are prayers times. You have to eat food, what you have to eat in the beginning, what you have to eat in the later stages. How is your brain actually perceiving MCQs in the last blocks of the exam? So my 2 cents would be, consider an NBME as an actual exam. Take it very seriously. Take the timing of the NBME very seriously. Give it as if you are going to give an actual exam. And if you are going to give like 5 to 6 NBMEs in total, just try in 1 or 2 NBMEs 280 MCQs, so that you just get synchronized with the actual exam, and you never gets exhausted in the main exam, because the main exam is an 8 hour long exam. So at your home or at your hostel, wherever you are, you must practice an 8 hour, yeah, 280 MCQs long study pattern.
Right. Thank you, Wahab bhai. So we have a very straightforward question. How can we get an MBOSS scholarship? So I think I can answer that, since I got to be in one of their online seminars the other day. They have cancelled their scholarship, if I'm not wrong, Walid bhai or Wahab bhai, or Adam bhai, Sarabaji. I think, if I'm wrong, do correct me. But I think that that program, they have cancelled it. They don't give full scholarships now. They do give group discounts and institution-based discounts and seasonal discounts, but they don't give that complete scholarship anymore, right? So another question, like we are now moving towards the end, so I'll just ask a few final questions. So if our UWorld scores are not improving, what to do about that?
Okay. So, like, I have a few words to say about this. Like, if like whether or not your scores are improving or not, like, it depends upon your existing knowledge. For example, you're a third year student, you've just started using the resource. Like, your main focus, like, it should not be your scores, it should be learning as much as possible from this. However, like, if you're in your dedicated period, for example, then you should go to the analysis portion and see, like, UL has an analysis portion after each block, and check, like, where you're doing, like, where you're getting questions wrong, and just pay extra attention towards them. And then you can use Amboss, like, to solve questions related to the same topics for, like, better information.
Right. Do you have anyone else to speak on the same theme slash
Yeah,
topic?
yeah, yeah. I want to add one thing. If by this you mean that you have already completed your UL question bank, and you're doing it again and it's still in the 50s, or it's still lagging in the 65, 63, you're not really reaching 85 or 79 or somewhere like that, then again, do another question bank. Do another question bank. Go start doing Amboss. Forget about UL for a while. Start Amboss. Do it randomly in study mode. Revise the topics with that. Watch those few lectures again where you're getting questions wrong again and again. If you're getting a question wrong again and again on a specific topic, it means your knowledge is lagging behind on that topic, right? Just go and watch lecture, or maybe try another resource. Watch osmosis video, watch some other resource video, and refresh that knowledge, and then come back to you, right? Then come back to you, instead of doing the same questions again and again, getting the same scores, getting, feeling low about it, that, I'm not really improving. A good strategy would be to have a different perspective now from a different question bank, because it's not really working for you now, right? And I'm sure that it's going to help you.
Right. Thank you, Walid bhai. So I guess we have touched almost all the big questions, all the recurring themes that we received from the audience that they wanted us to cover. I think there's a final thing that I'd like to ask. I think it's one of my personal favorites, and I think this would be a nice closing to this whole session. And that is how to stay, like, since this is a very long and I would say quite gruesome journey, how to stay motivated, and consistent, and avoid burnout? Yes, yes, Wahab bhai, please.
We haven't discussed Anki, I guess. So Anki is the main way here because Anki is actually it's like making streaks. Everyone is making streaks in Snapchat, but no one is making streaks in the Anki. And Anki streaks actually does work because it keeps you consistent while doing the course. You just start doing Anki. Next day, next day you will do due cards after 15, 20 days, after 30 days. You will have like some 500 or 400 or 300 review cards, yeah, due cards, which you call as due or review card. You would have that intimate in touch in your brain that if you do not do these due cards today, it will just shift to the another day. It will just keep on adding, and you will have a lot of burden on the next day and then on the next day. So just to get rid of this thing, what I just did the due cards on that day because I never leave my due cards to the next day because it will just keep on adding. So in my opinion, start Anki. Anki works for me not just because it has memorized the things for me, but Anki actually works in for me being consistent. To be very honest, it's a very frank and genuine remarks from my side. In first year and second year, जब मैं 4-5 दिन के लिए पढ़ लेता था तो मैं कहता था कि मैंने बहुत ज्यादा पढ़ा है तो फिर मैं एक हफ्ते का ब्रेक लेता था. Like this would be my pattern. Then when I shift into my third year and I start doing the Anki actually, तो Anki ने मुझे ये सिखाया ना कि रोजाना के हिसाब से कार्ड्स करने हैं. अगर मैंने आज कार्ड्स नहीं किए तो इसका मतलब है कि ये कल पाइल अप होंगे. इट विल जस्ट कीप ऑन एडिंग फॉर टुमारो एंड डे आफ्टर टुमारो. कल अगर मैं 800 कार्ड्स के साथ डेस्क पे बैठूंगा, स्टडी डेस्क स्टडी टेबल पे बैठूंगा, I wouldn't be able to watch new lecture. Therefore I have missed 2 days actually, one the day before it and the next day as well, because I will be having 800 or 900 due cards, which almost takes like 5 to 6 hours. So my sense would be Anki is the thing which not only keeps memorizing the thing, but it would also keeps you consistent and be honest with the Anki streaks the way you are honest with your Snap streaks.
Right. Well, by so a point I'd like to add, I do apologize. I think Anki was a major chunk to be touched on, but there are two things. Like the first thing is how to use Anki. So there's a complete tutorial that Walid Bhai has done, and we'll link that in the group. So if someone wants to learn how to use Anki, they can check that out. Then there's another question, which deck to use. So that's also been frequently discussed in the group, but that's something which again you can ask there as well. Third thing is that when do you use Anki? So I think I gathered that much from you people's discussion that if you are in the first 2 years, like first year and second year, it is good if you go for Anki, right? So you just go through lectures and books, and after that you just use Anki to solidify your concepts and just to retain all the information. But like Walid Bhai said, if you're in third year, fourth year, or final year, so then you just it's better if you just go directly for the question banks along with those other high yield resources. So I think that is a very brief overview of Anki. If any of the speakers they want to talk about it, they're very welcome to have the floor.
Yeah, that is the discussion about Anki, or is it about the staying consistent and motivated?
Actually, we started about being like that consistency and motivation thing, but Wahab Bhai, he just pointed out that we have missed Anki. So I just gave a brief summary
Oh,
and overview of everything that we have discussed about Anki. Now, if anyone wants to add anything regarding Anki, they are welcome. Otherwise, we can just go back to our question about staying
no.
motivated and avoiding burnout.
About Anki, yeah, about Anki, since I was big on Anki for at least a year. My suggestion would be, if you're a preclinical student, definitely it is the best thing that you can do, because it literally helps you memorize every portion, every bit of first aid. You literally know what's written on, in that topic, and that line, the values, everything. But if you are in your clinical years and you have, since step one is a pass fail exam now, and you don't really need to score a 90% or a 95% on the exam to be able to have a good portfolio for your residency match application. I think then it's, it's you have to deal with the benefit versus risk thing, because at this point, the most important thing is to have a good timeline. To have a good timeline for your residency match application, and you need a considerably longer time for your step two preparation. In my opinion, maybe at least a year or 1.5 years. I took 16 months taking my step two. So then if you start doing Anki, and like Anki has Anki deck, by the time when I did it, it was like 30,000 cards. I almost did it completely. And today, I guess it must be like 45,000 or 50,000. So it's not practical to do every card in there. If you still have to do it, my recommendation would be first complete your UWorld system wise along with first aid, and then choose which subjects do you lag in the most, and which things are the most difficult for you to remember, and then do maybe around 2,000, 3,000, maximum 4 5,000 cards, so that you're able to review the cards like for an hour or so a day. You're not taking 5 hours a day. I was literally doing 5 hours of Anki every day, which drains you out. And then apart, instead of that, if you do new questions, that will increase your score more than if you do the cards and everyday consistency. It's important, but again, what I'm talking about is if you're a preclinical student and you're not doing anything really, like you're just wasting your time, then it's good to revise stuff with Anki. But if you're in your clinical years, it's good to get done with your step one within like 6 to 8 months. And you cannot do that if you're doing 5 hours or 3 hours of Anki every day, right? So I hope that's, and you can watch my tutorials on a detailed account of how to download the deck, how to start using it, the scheduling and everything. But I would recommend it only for first, second, and third year students. But and if you want to do it as a fourth and final year student for step one or for step two, make sure you're not doing more than like 4 or 5,000 cards overall, right?
Right, Vajan. So that's a very nice way to go about it. A very nice summary. Once again, if anyone wants to add anything about Anki, you have the floor. If not, we can go back to our final question.
And
Adnan, bhai, do
I
you want to?
think, yeah, yeah. I think sketchy is, as Walid bhai said, not very important, but I found it very, very useful for sketchy microbiology. I think it helps you with memorize the pictures, the sketches, and it helps you keep a better memory of your keep a better picture memory of the sketch. So I think if you want to use sketchy, even if it is for to staying consistent purposes, you should do sketchy microbiology for Anki only.
Yeah, I agree to that. And again, I never said to not use Anki. What I mentioned was to, tailor it according to your situation. And yes, I agree. I did sketchy pharmacology and sketchy micro with Anki, and I can tell you how helpful it is. It literally
Yeah,
like
very
makes you remember every small portion in the sketches. And being having almost graduated, I would say I still remember those sketches really well. If I get questions, that is exactly what I think about. So if you have to do Anki, maybe do sketchy micro, sketchy pharma cards, maybe do some biochemistry, some anatomy pathologies, but not really for every physiology question and every, cardiac output here and there. It's useless because you're going to learn that apart from memorizing it instead of doing, memorization.
Right. So since we have almost all the speakers on board regarding this question, Sarah, Baji, if you want to add anything regarding Anki, otherwise we are good to go. Right. So I guess since we already have Wahab Bai's take on the motivation and avoiding burnout thing, he said that let's say goodbye to snap streaks and welcome Anki streaks. So that's a nice way to like that's a nice perspective. Walid Bhai, I'd like to have your say on this.
What do you think? Maybe I guess Sarah and Adam could give their opinion. I can summarize it.
Right. So, Adam, bhai, what do you think? Acha, so, you can have the floor, Sarabaji. So, what has helped you stay motivated, stay consistent, and avoid burnout through your journey?
Well, one of the most hardest pills to swallow regarding the step one preparation is that you should never bite off more than you can chew. Like initially, as like first year student, second year student, like we're all excited about our like steps journey. Like we want to do research at the same time, we want to do many other activities at the same time. And ultimately, like if you're too distracted, like it will like affect your study. So therefore, like try to like stay focused. Like you can obviously like do like while studying you can make like reasonable goals such as like doing a certain number of blocks a day. And regarding your CV preparation, you can like you don't have to directly jump to like research and USK. Like if you can manage it, that's fine. But otherwise, you can do smaller things like volunteering at the hospital, or you could also take part in small leadership activities in the different societies. Like just like don't like wait like put too much time into different things. Like stay focused, but for certain refreshments you can like go outside, like do some activities, organize an event, get refreshed, and come back to your study. That's it.
Right. So what you're saying is that, just like mix your study with other co-curricular activities, small co-curricular activities every now and then so that you don't like feel overwhelmed. So that's a really nice point. Adam, bhai, do you have anything to say about
Okay,
it?
I'd actually agree with Sarah on this one. I would say that step one, taking the step one or preparing for step one is not the only, the only path that you can start your step one journey with. You can also do research side by side. You can learn about that. I think you'll find that interesting as well. And again, what helped me was in my preparation, I prepared for step one in like 12 or 14 months, started in third year and then gave it in fourth year. But what I did in third year was, and like start of fourth year was, I, you know, participated in the extracurricular activities. I was in the research society, which was helping me learn about research as well. And I was, that helped me in my step one journey as well. And I was also a part of the literary society. So that kept me entertained as well. So it was not entirely boring for me. So I think that would be a good strategy. I mean, that's why you have a dedicated and a non-dedicated period, right? So in your non-dedicated period, you can have your side hobbies as well. And I think that's how you can stay consistent with your step one prep.
Right. That's a very that's an insightful thing to say. Like you just don't have to give up on your life like all at once if you start preparing for step one, but just find that balance between, just living your life and just striving for your goal. So Walid bhai, would you like to would you kindly summarize it for us?
Yeah, I definitely would love to, but I think Wahab wants to mention something. Go ahead.
Just was one last thing is I actually believe in a study partner. Adam Saeed was my study partner in my whole step journey, right from the day first until my step exam. We both have a step exam on the same day in the same exam center. And the thing is, we actually pushed each other. At times, he would be ahead of me like by 5, 10 days in a specific system. On the other times, I would be ahead like by 5, 10 days. And that was a constant push for me as well as for him. If he was ahead of me by 5, 10 days in specific system or in U word, so it would be a push for me to just go back to work and just try to cover the course. And if I was ahead in at some time, so he would try to just try to work and reach by me. So my point is, find your class fellow or whoever suits you, like your friend, and try to like synchronize your study pattern and be as a motivator for the other ones. Try to drag each other to do work and to study actually and to not waste the time. What do you have your say? Thank you.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would definitely stress upon. It's very important whenever you're doing something, you need to have the right set of people for that. You need to be around people who encourage you and not discourage you. What helped me the most was staying in touch with people from across the globe, because this is medicine is something very diverse, and the good thing about pursuing these exams and this pathway is that it opens up your mind. It includes the step exams, it includes managing the finances, it includes managing the time for it, and having a life outside of medicine. It includes a part where you go to the US for your rotations, for your clinical experience, you travel. It's think about it as something that you really look forward to, instead of okay, let's get done with step one, and then I'll breathe. I'll start breathing after that. You don't hold your breath until you're done with step one or your step two, because see, the thing is, when you start this journey, you are looking at a whole 5 to 6 years of preparations, exams, finances management, and visa process, and traveling, and research. It has 100 different dimensions. So make sure that you're giving enough time to everything. And it's fine if you can't do everything with your step one preparation. Everybody has their own way of doing things, right? Don't compare yourself to the next person in the queue. Just because they did step one 2 months before you did, it doesn't mean that you're lagging behind. Because there are people who approach me, and they tell me that even second year and third year students, that is it too late to start for step one and step maybe this journey as a second year student? No, it's not, because you're just a newbie into this. So you're looking at step one, then step two, then step three, then your visa process, then your rotations, then your research, then the match application. You ask a match applicant and they'll tell you that step exams is the most easy part of this journey. Why? Because you have to make connections, you have to stay in touch with hundreds of people every day, you have deadlines you have to meet, right? I don't mean to intimidate you. What I want to tell you is that take it slowly. You don't have to rush. I did everything with that. I attended family marriages, functions. I had trips. Whatever your hobbies are, don't just, if you're into something, don't sacrifice those things for this journey, just because why would you choose the hard way if there are easy ways to do it, right? At the end of the day, the most that will happen is your step exam would be delayed for a month, maybe. Like if you were supposed to take it in January, let's say you had a trip, you are doing your hobbies and stuff, you're watching movies, you're hanging around, maybe you'll take an extra month, right? Overall, just don't go there and take a week long of break, which Wahab said that he would do, which then he realized that it wasn't the best way, right? Don't just take longer breaks, 3 days, 4 days, 2 days breaks, and at times, like every week, have something you look forward to, a hangout, something, a break, you take a break or something. And interact with people, study sessions with random people. There are online libraries, people study online in groups. Just don't go there and waste your time. This is an important thing. Don't join a group just for the sake of joining it, and then you end up wasting your time instead of utilizing it. So because there are redundant amounts of groups and stuff. So yeah, at the end of the day, this is journey where you need to have people around you who motivate you. Stick along with with seniors, good seniors who motivate you, who encourage you, who push you towards doing good. And plus, don't fall for stuff like you're just a second year student. You'll do these things later on in your once you're graduated, or think about it in fourth year. It's too early for you. Never listen to those people, because they're the people. If because you know an important thing I would tell you, if you have to seek advice, seek it from someone who has been through the same thing that you are going through. Don't go ask a graduate as a second year student asking them how to take step one, because they'll give you the graduate person's opinion. But if you ask a second year a person who took their exam or did their rotations as a student or whatever, and you ask them, they'll tell you that yes, do it. The graduate or someone else, if they're biased in their opinion, they'll always discourage you from doing that. That's what happened to me. A lot of people would discourage me from, exam, like delay it a bit or do this or do that. At the end of the day, if you have studied well, it doesn't matter which year you are in. And that brings me again to that same question, which a lot of people asked in the chat. I was looking through it, that how to, manage these exams with KMU and professional exams. My single answer to that would be, why are you thinking about it as two separate entities? They're not two separate things. At the end of the day, in your KMU exam, in your any professional exam, it's the same heart, it's the same brain. Neurons are not changing, cardiac myocytes are not changing, nephrons are not changing. The mechanism remains the same. If you have learned it for one exam, you have done it for all the other exams that you are going to take, right? So at the end, what you should do is, if you have your professional exam the next day, it's your maybe block E, block D, just make sure if you are doing UWorld, why would you get crazy and do cardiology uh, even though you have a neurology exam the next 2 days, right? Just go and do UWorld from neurology portions and you'll revise that. You're going to score amazing on your exam. Make sure you revise the first aid portion on that. And the most it will take you is maybe 2 or 3 days. So you don't need to take a 3 months dedicated break for your, for your professional exam and then get along back to your step one, which means you'll have to revise the content again and then start from zero again, right? So just, incorporate these things along the journey, stay dedicated, and the best way is don't rush things. If you start early, if you're doing it slowly, and you have like 5, 6, 7 years to complete this journey. So 7 years people become scientists and do anything. You can take 3 exams, like they're not that difficult. But if you start on time, you're consistent, take breaks. If you don't feel good, just listen to podcasts, divine intervention podcasts, some video, watch a video lecture, and that's all for the day. Make sure you do something every day that keeps you oriented, and you don't have to do one block all your life. Maybe there will be days where you can't do anything. That's fine. You can watch a lecture, and that's about it for the day. So I hope I didn't take too much time explaining that, but I think, and another important thing, when you're starting this journey, don't just jump into it just because your friend did or your whatever person did or someone, someone told you to do that. Take into consideration the whole journey. If you think this is not going to work for you, shift to another pathway. You can go to another country, you can stay here, you can go to Australia, you can go to UK, you there are pathways for Gulf countries, for other stuff. There are pathways in Pakistan. You can pursue training in AKU, you can pursue training in different institutions across the country and abroad everywhere. So before stepping into this journey, make sure you discuss it with a lot of seniors and make sure you're clear about what you're stepping into, because once you're there and once you spend a lot of time doing it, there is no going back then, right? I would say if you prepare for step one and it doesn't hurt, like at the end, even if you don't take the exam, the preparation will help you. But what I'm talking about is, maybe you could have invested your time in something better which you were really passionate about. So instead of reaching final year and realizing it wasn't even a thing for you, it didn't even excite you, you just did it because the other person did, or your family wanted you to do it, or someone told you to do it. A better thing would be to invest your time and energy and finances into something you're really passionate about, which you won't leave in the middle, right? So yeah, and don't think about how you'll match and people are getting unmatched. At the end of the day, you'll enter into the system. If you're really passionate about it, just do it, and things will take care of themselves later on. Visa stuff and where you'll end up, that's not a worry for you. At this point, your main concern is, before graduation, I have to do at least step 1 and 2 CK plus OET exam and get certified when you get your degree. Beyond that, everybody would be willing to take you. If not the US, maybe you can apply 1 year. Next year, people match after 7 years, after 10 years. So and you would be thinking, like, how would I even get the courage to apply again and the money for it? That's exactly what those people thought about, but they ended up doing that and they ended up in the system. So it's not like a clear pathway where the day one you took your step one, don't worry about the match process. Just your next worry should be your next day, your next week, next month, not 5 years from today, right? I hope that helps, inshallah.
That's a very comprehensive summary of everything that we've discussed so far. Because at the end of the day, with all the resources that you study, with all the things that you work towards your goals with, it all comes down to like having your goal and aim in your mind. So that's a really positive way to think about it. And I think with that, we have come to the end of this session. We did plan on taking live questions, but firstly, I think the session it has like it's been going for more than 2 hours or around 2 hours. And secondly, almost all the questions that the participants wanted to ask, I think they have already been answered one way or the other. Like we have been going through this live chat. So I think that should suffice. And with that, it's a wrap. Thank you very much, Walid Bhai, for always being very kind, for always giving us your time whenever we asked for it. Thank you very much, Wahab Bhai, for coming up with this idea, for personally reaching out and telling us that these juniors, these peers of us, they need a session, so let's arrange it for them. That was a really nice gesture. Thank you very much, Adam Bhai and Sarah Baji, for joining us in this endeavor. And to everyone who joined us, I hope you gained something from this. And to you, to us, to everyone who's here, I wish very best of luck. And till we meet again, Allah Hafiz, and have a very good night, everyone. Thank you very much.